So I know a lot of you probably best know me as a Euro nymphing dork, and I am, but I do enjoy the occasional small stream dry fly fishing, and I've been looking at picking up a softer rod for doing some of that stuff. And I got to talking to Joe Bradley a bit at the Wasatch Expo, and we've exchanged some emails after that. And after casting his bamboo rods at the Expo, man, those things were magical, and I just couldn't get them off my mind. So here we are on our way up to Joe's workshop up in Idaho. We're going to cast some of his rods and maybe pick one out for ourselves. So this video is going to kind of be about that journey, and we're going to learn a little bit more about Joe and some of his rods.
Well, I'm Joe Bradley. Been making rods 51 years. I've made a lot of mistakes during that time, so I learned. I did not learn from somebody. I did not apprentice to anybody. I apprenticed to a lot of people, is the way I'd say it, because I'd watch somebody else make rods later in life and say, okay, I can use that, I'll use that. I'm a retired banker. 45 years of banking in California, and decided it's time to leave, and we are here and glad of it. We're in St. Anthony, Idaho. We're 4 blocks from the Henry's Fork, and I fish it 100 days a year, which is just about all a guy could ask for a retirement, and we love it here. It's would say invite you here anytime. Come see. We're happy to show you the shop and how things are happening. I guess you'd say I started because I couldn't afford one. I wanted one. I've got catalogs from the early 70s when I was a young guy learning to fly fish, from Leonard and Thomas and Orvis and a number of other people, and the prices were beyond the guy that was making, what was I making? $350 a month as a trainee banker. And my friend down the street, who we fished together a lot, was a good shop guy, and I had a gunsmith shop, and we decided with one book of instructions, Jim McLean's Fly Fishing Encyclopedia. There were about 4 pages in there on how to make a bamboo fly rod and a pattern, and we decided we could do it. And we started making the material. You couldn't buy anything. You couldn't buy bamboo, you couldn't buy ferrules, you couldn't buy reel seats. Guides were sometimes available. And so we were into this thing, making our own, making everything. We were making ferrules and we were making reel seats, and then to get bamboo, I was buying deep sea fishing rods in garage sales and steaming them apart to get the bamboo out of them. And we were using that. We were in Paradise, California, and down the road in Chico, California, was a rod maker, Walton Powell. And Walton was sort of an interesting character, and everybody that knew him probably had an opinion, and I'll leave it at that. He had a bunch of bamboo, and he was making bamboo fly rods. And I went down there to talk with him, and he told me, "You'll never make a bamboo fly rod." I said, "Well, Walton, I will. And I plan on it, because I'll bring it and show it to you. I want to buy some stuff." He said, "I won't sell stuff. I won't sell you a cane. I won't sell you reel seats." And he'd see me coming, and he'd run, close the door, and lock it. And I couldn't get in to see him. But his wife was tying the flies I was using. She was making a fly called a Rio Grande King. You know what that is, Bob? Well, that's back in the 60s and 70s, and I didn't think a trout ate anything but Rio Grande Kings. and she was tying them. And finally she got tired of me buying her out, and she said, "You're just going to sit right here and I'm going to teach you how to tie this thing on your own so you don't bother me anymore." And we became friends, and finally Walton let me into the shop, showed me a few things of what he was doing, and that was about it. I would like to have said, "I would like to work for you or come do something," but he just didn't have any interest in that at all. I started making rods out of those garage sale deep sea rods and made a few. I've probably got the first ones. I don't know where it is for sure right now. We're still in storage, but I've still got it. I fished it, and I took it down to him, and he finally let go of some of the bamboo that he didn't want to use, and gave me some ferrules that he didn't want to use, and maybe a reel seat or two, and I made a few things. And then lo and behold, I think what happened is he forgot to pay the rent. And he called me and said, "Hey, I need come help me." And I thought, wow, I'm going to get to work in the shop. No, what he had in mind was he's got about 1,500 clips of bamboo that he's going to have to move to a new location, and I'm going to do it. And so he called me to do that, and while I was doing that, I knew he was going to pay me. So I'm setting aside bamboo that I was selecting as we were going through. Finally told him, "That's my pay right there, I'm going to keep those." And he agreed to that. So it's where some of the bamboo, and as a fate would have, it's now the bamboo that I'm using. It all came into the United States before the 1951 embargo with China. His dad, E.C. Powell, had the company, and this bamboo was E.C. Powell's, his dad's. All pre-embargo came. And so that's what we were working with. Without telling a long story, it ended up in Powell Rod Company that got sold to Charles Schwa, and they went out of business and sold it to their marketing guy. And he says, "I'm not having anything to do with bamboo," and took it all to the dump. A friend of mine who saw it and knew what it was picked it up and took home 5 or 6 pickup loads of bamboo. And without going to a lengthy story, some of it sitting right over there in the corner. I ended up with about, I would say, 1,000 clips of it. Now all of it's good, but all of it's pre-embargo. Meaning good, meaning some of it's got flaws on it and I can't use it. If it doesn't have flaw, you can use it. The new bamboo that they're importing now, and I have bought some of that, is really pretty superior. And superior this way: less flaws, less damage to it, and more uniform, and that makes it easier to work with. All right, this is my wife, Diana. This is the bag lady. She doesn't like the name, but she is the bag lady. She makes all the bags, and the mistake I made was that she started selling them to other people and realized then she could sell them to me. And so for 45 years, I got them free. And then, big mistake. It's cost me a lot of money.
Oh yeah, a lot of money.
But she's tolerated me, followed me all over the world. And yeah, all right, that enough?
That's it.
They gave it the name Tonkin because everybody seemed to know the story of the Gulf of Tonkin. This isn't grown anywhere close to that. This all came from the Sioux River Valley in China. Now, exactly where that is, I don't know. This one, if you look here, they're upside down. That's a leaf node that way, and this leaf node that way. So this is the top of the bamboo, and that's a knot I tied in 1974. Honest. And see if we got lucky. Not particularly. See what happened here? Too close together. They're too close together, those two. So those aren't going together. And if we match them with either of those two, those aren't they won't work together either. No of these 4 can go together. The node's too close. I have an attic full of this stuff, by the way, just to give you an idea of what we're doing. I have a couple of these ones. Let's take a look at this one and see how if I could move things around like that way. Again, that's 5 foot. Let's see how lucky we got. You feel lucky? Look here. spacing's pretty good. This is going to be the butt section, and most of this is going to be down in the cork. That's about as close as I'd ever want them to go together. And the first trick is to split them in half. It's already got a crack in it. See it?
Yeah.
We'll use that one. So now I'm going to cut this, I'm going to split this in half. I see pictures of guys that hammer a knife in it and run it down by the hand, and that blade will twist in the bamboo and give you unequal pieces, unless you do it this way. Now, I'm going to try to get 4 out of this. And I can control the split. If I see it's leading off one way, I can put a little pressure on it. Those are ready to work. I'm sanding those flat and the back off of it. And I look for bamboo that has less nodes, because every one you got to work on just is a pain. This bamboo is going to be a poor example because it's really in good shape. And I'll also put, right now, I'll put a bevel of corn on it so that it can go through my beveler. So I'm looking down that. Dadgummit, that's pretty straight. Do you see the wee wall on that one? You see that I've got a little kink in this one here? See it? We're going to heat it up. It becomes pliable. What you're doing, you're softening the resins and not to the point of crystallizing the fibers. That's pretty close. This little trick here, not everybody does. You see what happens. Let's straighten it on. Give it a second or two. Now look at it. You see it? Okay. Well, this one. That one needs a little, not much. And I've worked on them that are a lot worse than this. And that's the problem with this old cane. It doesn't, very seldom you get really a straight piece. We got lucky. One of the guys I taught the bill rods, we split up the cane and none of it needed straightening. And all I could say is, you're not learning a damn thing, because this is the hard part. This is where you learn how to make bamboo straight. Okay, that's got a little kink in it. We'll take that out. Overstress it just a little bit. See the difference? Okay, here's another one. Look at, do the same thing. You could almost run this through the beveler with that little bit of a curve in there, but you're always straightening bamboo. And if you fail to do it, you just won't get a good product. You won't get a straight rod. If the person was patient enough, and I've done this, I can heat up bamboo and tie it in a knot. I can make it that pliable, and I've done it. What I'm going to put, when I finish putting these 6 together, they will be 115% larger than they should be. And the idea is, at that point, I'm wrapping them together and putting them in the oven. You will want to see the oven, I guess. I've had several ovens and recently made a new one that I like better than anything I've ever used. Have I got the right side? Looks like it's pretty thin. Periodically, I actually have to take this and recut this groove. This is the side I want. It's got a deeper groove in it because of the big bamboo. The other side was for the tip. I have just a Excel program that puts these, when I start making things, I put them in that program and they give me all the numbers. This one needs to be 120. That's 120. I'm working off the little number here, if you can see that. See, it says 80, and there's a 20 next to it. The difference between us measuring the way it drops or the way it goes up. So that's 120. The next number is 127. The parabolic rods, there were 3 makers of parabolic rods. I had an original E.F. Payne parabolic that a guy sold me, and I fell in love with it. It took me a year to learn how to cast it. But once I did, it just became so easy. It's just so much less of your own energy to fish parabolic. And I had been making progressive rods. And the difference is the progressive rod has to have taper in it. And a parabolic can be very parallel. And so what it does is it causes the butt section to engage in the casting really early. On a progressive rod, the further you put the line out, the more it gets down into the butt. Is that making a little sense? We can actually we'll try both while you're here. And the parabolic rods cannot be made in graphite or fiberglass. And the reason, you know how they make them, they put an anvil, wrap the tape around them, bake them. If there's not draft, meaning a drop in the dimensions, they can't pull that anvil out. And the parabolic rods are very parallel. And you just lock it in there. The 3 guys that really started the thing was Charles Ritz. Paul Young is famous for making all of his rods were parabolic, and the other and Payne, Jim Payne, and the Ferro company in France. But I think they had a lot to do with Charles Ritz because he was there at the time. And so those 3 companies were the only ones that were making parabolic rods. I have cast a number of those from other makers, and when you get one, I've cast a parabolic Perfectionist for Paul Young made. I couldn't believe it. I'm throwing the whole line, 6 rod, and I'm just pumping out 110 feet of line. It's just remarkable with very little effort. That's the difference. It uses very little of your own effort to load a parabolic rod. And graphite, you're working. I mean, you don't know it because you get used to it, but you're working. Once you start with a bamboo, you're going to say, well, wait a minute. It's a lot less energy, my energy, to make this thing work. First trip down the piece of bamboo, because it's been through that beveler, they leave minute chips in it, and it doesn't go smooth all the way. And then you finally get to where it does. I'm watching at the nodes, because the nodes where a plane will pick up an end grain and give you a chip you don't want to rotate, but you can't get out. So I'm going back and forth. The enamel is still on here. That's the outside cover of the bamboo. And we're going to make them into a blank now. And these all happen to be out of the same bamboo, so the same numbers are on them. And I would fiddle with them for a while until I get them all in position. And I tape them together. At this point, I take my pen that I can't see right now, not that one, I get a little, and I would number them, because they're going to live in that position forever. That's where they're going to end up. That'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'd go up here. I'm finally learning to be a little bit better about this and write whatever this is, because I may not get back to it for a while, and it's nothing worse than picking one up and saying, oh, what the hell was I making? So we're going to say this is a pair of 14, 8 foot for 4 weight. And I'd have that on there, so when it ends up there on the shelf, I want to pull it out, I can find it. Now, these have been, they're oversized by 15%, but I want to wrap them together because I want to put them in the oven, because when they're in the oven, it'll relax all those fibers, and 2 things happen, 3 things. One is it straightens them out, so that now when they come out of the oven, they'll be straight. Number 2, it tempers them, which means that it blows a bunch of the moisture out of the bamboo. And when it blows it out of the bamboo, that means it takes out weight and makes the bamboo more resilient. And number 3, it gives it a real pleasant dark color. So I'll bind them all tight together. Where they go in the oven, all the bends will offset each other. Place on the other side to put a heat gun. So I lay this on my bench, put my blanks that I want to work on inside this first tube, and it's got thermometers so I can read, and I'll run it up to about 350, 360 for an hour. So let's put this down here, slide them around a little bit, find 30 inches, and find 144. How about that? Right there. Where's that yellow pen? That one there. We'll use that until we find the one we want. So, at that point right there, we know that number is good. Now, I intentionally make the tips a little heavier than my patterns are, because over the years I've found that they really cast better if they're a little heavier than what I originally started. So we want 25 inches. And at 25 inches, we're looking for 133. How about that? We're 0.5 thousandths off. So that's good. We'll mark that as good. And now we know what 50 is, and we know we're going to cut the blanket at 46.5 because that's half of a 7'9", and I'll put a mark there and a mark there, and I'll do that in ink actually, because those will be the permanent marks. And about 10 years ago, I bought this. Is from Renzetti, the same company that makes the really neat vices, and he and I designed it a little bit different than the way he had in mind, but I've been wrapping rods on it for about 10 years, and it saves a lot of time, and it really is accurate. That's far enough. Pinch it off. Stick it through the loop. I was sort of wondering how I'd be able to do this with that Band-Aid. Be sure we're all good and compact. We can still move it around after we've done that. Pull through, clip it off very short, and it hides it. But I'll use snake brand guides. The stripping guide, which are those over there, are Joe Argrilla and over in Trinity, Colorado, and I've used a number of other makers, and as long as he'll make them and stay alive, I won't buy anything else. They are absolutely terrific. You never have to do anything to get them ready. They are just perfect. They're not cheap, but they're perfect. The phone number is 916-996-0020, or you can get that phone number on jlbradleybamboorods.com. Now what you can do, you got oil, give me the That's an old man. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Alright guys, so this is the rod. It's a 7.5 foot 4 weight from Joe Bradley, J.L. Bradley Bamboo Rods. Thanks again to Joe for letting me come up to his shop and see how some of the processes of how bamboo rods are made. I got to cast this whole lineup and all of them were pretty sweet, but this is the one that spoke to me. So this is the one I had Joe make me, and I'm gonna treasure this thing for the rest of my life. It's something I'm looking forward to passing down to my son at some point. But until then, we're gonna put a lot of fish on it. It's not something I'm gonna take out every day, but the days I feel like I wanna do something special, this is the rod I'm gonna take out. All right, let's try and catch a fish on this bamboo rod. We've got some sporadic baetis coming off and a few risers, not a ton. They're mostly in the far seam, but I saw a couple come up, I saw one come up ahead of me a few minutes ago. So I'm gonna see if I can get them. Joe, you made a great rod. This rod casts so sweet. I've got a little infallible BWO on this size 20. I also saw one come up right down here. Yep, I got him. See how this bamboo rod fights fish. Let's get him to the net. First fish on the Joe Bradley bamboo rod. Took the little size 20 infallible. So cool. There it is. First brown. On the bamboo rod. You know, this rod truly is a special rod. I'm a grant director for a nonprofit, and to have an outfit this nice, it's all your guys' support in the shop and the channel, and I can't thank you guys enough for helping me get something this nice into my hands. If you're interested in getting one of these rods or talking to Joe about one, or you know, maybe heading up to St. Anthony in Idaho and getting to cast some of Joe's rods, you can reach out to him through his website. He's got an email and phone number there, or you can reach out to me and I can connect you guys. But if this is something you're truly interested in, I'd recommend reaching out to me or Joe and trying to get one of these in your hands. I know Joe only makes a handful a year, so if you want one, it's probably best to reach out as soon as you can. But again, thanks to Joe for having me up and for building me this one. Something I'm never going to forget. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different than the ones we typically have on the channel, but being able to document this process has just been a great experience. Anyways, thanks for watching.